Today's the day that we come to the closet. For years now, we've been so deep in the closet that people have begun to question us. Most of you have thought us in a certain way, but let us tell you that you are all wrong.
Hi, I'm Jaime, and this is Erickson Livingston. And the matter of fact is, we are nerds. For us, this isn't something bad. It's just something we don't like to tell people. It's funny though, because sure, people might already think or know we're nerds, but they can never fully understand the extent of our nerdiness. But now that we've come to terms with this, I think it's important to share that it's okay to be a nerd, and you definitely aren't alone.
So what do you mean by being a nerd? Most people think of a nerd of someone who's intellectually apt. But in today's society, being intellectual is no longer a bad thing. However, it is something good and to be praised for.
This means the definition of a nerd has shifted. It no longer means an intellectual. Rather, it means someone who is outcast because of their quirky habits. The word nerd is often grouped with words such as like loser, weirdo, strange.
In today's society, people are ridiculed and looked down upon because they have different behavior than the social norm. Outcast is you in a sense. That doesn't mean that no one likes you, but it means you are considered cool or in the in group.
So, what do we mean by being cool or popular?
While in high school, someone who is cool is based on the social status. If you have many friends, go to the parties, play lots of varsity sports, are good looking, then you're considered cool. Just because you aren't defined by these standards, though, doesn't mean that you're any less important than the cool kids.
So what did we mean by quirky habits? We're talking about habits that range from playing video games to going to comic book conventions or even playing cards. All these things have different levels of seriousness.
The type of nerds range from gamer nerd to the more extreme LARPing. There are two types of gamer nerds. The nonchalant gamer nerd who may play a few times a week or on the weekends, or maybe sometimes he has off. And the hardcore gamer. But we'll go over those later. Another type of nerd, which is a little more extreme than the gamer nerd, is the card player nerd. This person plays card type games such as Magic, Hearthstone, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Card games such as these probably require the most effort, time, and money, even at an amateur level. It costs large amounts of money to buy cards, have a good deck, and win mini games. More intense card players will even spend hundreds of dollars on a single card. The games are lengthy and can even last up to an hour. While the game is going on, players get very intimate and can focus on nothing but the game.
The next type of nerd have to do with less gaming and cards and more motion picture and comic. Superhero nerds, as we call them, or anime nerds, fall into this category. Now, I sincerely hope that everyone in this room had a favorite superhero growing up. For me, it was Spider-Man, followed by Wolverine from the X-Men. Being a bit of a superhero nerd myself, kind of upset that they didn't add Spider-Man in the Avengers, like he was in the comics, but I suppose that the addition to Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver makes up for that. Also, why did they make Age of Ultron before the Ant-Man movie? Because Ant-Man is the one who made the robot, not Iron Man. But I digress.
He could go on forever, though.
A real superhero nerd would know even more than me on that subject, and maybe even why they made Iron Man, make Ultron, whatever. On a side note, it's really silly that these superhero nerds are actually a lot older people. Or people think it's silly, but they're actually a lot older. And they usually read old school comics. And they're the type of people that go to Comic-Con, which is one of the biggest comic book conventions in the world. Other similar events, like these, is where they meet people just like them. There's a branch of the superhero/comic book nerd will be an anime or manga nerd. Anime and manga are Japanese animated pictures and comics respectively. These are usually have more of a story and an underlying moral or satire. They're very long and they have tons of chapters. A famous example of an anime would be Naruto, which I'm sure many of the boys in here watched in 4th or 5th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the most famous animes in the US and still has an ongoing story, which I don't know how. Manga is usually based off... All anime is based off of manga, just like all superhero movies are based off the comics. The Japanese anime and manga, though, do not always include a superhero or a superhuman, but can be just like any other movie or TV show. But in Japanese, and obviously, they have animated characters rather than live actors. A lot of these types of nerds, along with super intense gamer nerds, are the type of people that participate in the next type of nerdom, which Erickson will explain.
Now, probably the most extreme type of nerd is the LARPer. Now, this isn't a nerd that goes to Comic-Con or E3. No. This person makes a costume and plays up a made-up game. They spend hours on just making a costume, and then make a whole day out of just playing the said game. Think of a Civil War reenactment, but with a much, much nerdier twist. Now, just because you participate in LARPing doesn't mean you should be discriminated against either way. It's just viewed as something more nerdy, and are even discriminated against even more.
Now, we're going to show you a video of a full-scale LARPing reenactment.
Yes. And pull up a picture from the movie Role Models, which will be on the PowerPoint. So, yeah. Now, after hearing the scale, you can put me in the gamer nerd. And on a gamer nerd scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably be a 6. I play most days during the week, but not so much so I don't do my homework.
Me, I'd probably be a 7 or an 8 in my prime. Which would have been in 9th grade. A 1 on the scale would be someone who, plays Xbox, like FIFA or something on the weekends or something like that.
Well, a 10 would be someone who plays every day right when they get home. And we're going to go over that a little bit later. Now, hearing about the types of nerds, let's talk about the people that attend gaming conventions and comic book conventions every year. According to the Comic-Con database, over 150,000 people attended Comic-Con just last year. Since it opened in 1970, over 1,840,000 people have attended.
Although Comic-Con may be the most popular comic book convention, there's plenty of other conventions, such as E3 and BlizzCon. BlizzCon is based off of one company called Blizzard Entertainment, which has made only 4 games with a 5th on its way. A lot of these games are super famous, such as StarCraft or World of Warcraft, and a whole convention is dedicated to the development of these games. Tickets are sold out within days, and there's even a virtual ticket option because people can't make the trip, but would still are willing to pay money just to watch it online. Now let's talk about the 2 different types of gamer nerds. Imagine 2 people who both play World of Warcraft, made by Blizzard, an online RPG game.
World of Warcraft, or WoW, is a game in which you make a character and complete quests and missions with the said character. One gamer plays casually, maybe on the weekends, maybe a day or 2 on the weekday, but nothing too much. Nothing that will make him do poorly in school or not hang out with his friends.
While the other is a hardcore gamer and plays WoW as soon as he gets home. He'll give up time with his friend to play WoW. This will become his regular pastime. And he'll spend tons of money on the game, play for hours on end, and usually does not complete assignments or socialize with his friends. Sometimes he'll even ditch his girlfriend just so he can play. How do I know this? Because back in the good old days of 9th grade, that was me, in my prime. Thing is, even if I had just been some sort of a casual gamer, I still would not have felt comfortable coming out of the fact that I played that, coming out about my terrible addiction. The classic response when I did tell someone was, "You play World of Warcraft?" followed by some weird or disgusted look, and then they usually probably tell their friend and they both laugh about it. The thing is, I've met some amazing people because of gaming. I've had lots of friends just through this hobby. No, I'm not talking about some creepy 40-year-old in some other state in a late-night chat room. I'm talking about kids from here at school or maybe even out of state. I've made a lot of friends who I would not have known without gaming, and Erickson here is a good example of that. We used to play Call of Duty way back in the day, and because of Call of Duty, we started hanging out more often.
Although I might have not had an experience this extreme or have been discriminated against so much, one thing that people do not realize in high school is that after these 4 years, you'll be off to college or doing something else in your life where there's thousands and even hundreds of thousands of people just like you. I came to this realization much later than I wished, and that's why I'm sharing this all with you today. So next time you meet someone who's a nerd and you think they're weird because of their quirky habits, give them a chance because they may be the best friend that you have ever had, and you'll cherish that moment forever.
And although it never bothered me, it's sad that people have looked down on me and judged me over a hobby just like any other, when they missed out on meeting amazing people. And so, to all the nerds who don't want others finding about their weird habits, whether it's some of those that we listed today or maybe others, Don't hide it any longer. You just might be missing out on meeting someone just like you.
And that is our idea worth sharing. Bye. Today's the day that they come to the closet. For a year...